Right. In the previous class, we have discussed about the polyethylene, right? So in this session, we'll look at the other plastics. We were discussing about the glass transition temperature and the glass transition temperature of LDPE I have given you in the previous class, right? This information on your screen will give us an idea of the glass transition temperature of many other commonly used commodity plastics and couple of the specialized plastics, right? So you can see that the ethylene vinyl alcohol, its glass transition temperature is about 85. So with these different glass transition temperatures, all these plastics behaves differently at room temperature. When they are exposed to room temperatures, roughly around 30 degrees centigrade, then they will be different. And this slide will give you a brief idea about how they behave at room temperatures, whether they are flexible or not. Right. One typical observation is that with regard to the polypropylene glass transition temperature is less than minus 10 degrees centigrade, and because of this, when it is exposed to below its glass transition temperatures, it becomes brittle, and there's a reason this material is not commonly used for frozen food packaging applications. So we'll try to look at other attributes and properties of the other materials also. Now, this is general information with regard to the family of polyethylene polymers. N number of polymers. We have almost, we have already discussed about the types of polymers and how they emerge. But just to give you an idea, and later you can relook into it, what exactly are these? The classification is speaking more about. Just one particular example. One of the hydrogen atom in the ethylene molecule, when it is replaced with acrylic acid, for your understanding, I have given the structure of acrylic acid here. So when this acrylic acid is attached, right, or one of the hydrogen is replaced with acrylic acid, you get ethylene acrylic acid, right? If you look at this polymer structures, so acrylate is another important member of the polyethylene family, or in a bigger this thing, it's a group of a polyolefinic material. Now you also find that there is an ionomer in the class, and so I just gave the definition of this ionomer and how the structure of such ionomers look like. Now it is neutralization of ethylene acrylic acid, right? Neutralization of ethylene acrylic acid or any other similar copolymer, right? Ethylene methacrylic acid with cations such as sodium, zinc, lithium, that produces better properties, either in terms of optical properties or in terms of mechanical strength or in terms of thermal properties than compared to their native unneutralized copolymers. So they have technological advantages when compared to the native unneutralized copolymers. So now one thing you need to remember here is ethylene acrylic acid, they always be in the form of a copolymer. Look at this here. So the under the branched one, under the copolymer one, right? Ethylene and comonomers. Under this particular classification, you have n number of other variants. So they could be acidic acrylate ones or acetates, and also ethylene vinyl alcohol. So vinyl alcohol as one of the comonomer, and here acetic acid, ethylene vinyl acetate as one of the comonomer. You get ethylene vinyl acetate and ethylene polymer, right? So it's a copolymer. So it has better advantage. I'll give the details of the EVA now. So this is how the structure of ionomers looks like. Now, before I proceed, I just want to describe the nature of ethylene vinyl acetate, which is another important compound, but it is having some special properties, and that is the reason why I'm trying to make a mention of this polymer here. Now, it may contain about 3 to 12% of vinyl acetate as comonomer in the total composition. So it's a random copolymer of ethylene and vinyl acetate. Now, similar to the flexibility of other plastics such as polyvinyl chloride, ethylene vinyl acetate behaves. So the flexibility is very close to flexible PVC. The speciality of this ethylene vinyl acetate is, as the molecular weight increases, the viscosity, toughness, heat seal strength, hot tack, TACK, hot tack, and flexibility all will increase. Now, you have just come to know about a new word, that is hot tack. Tackability is nothing but the ability of a material to bind with the other material, or in other words, ability of a property, ability of a polymer to bind, or in other words, the adhesion property of this material, right? So hot tack means ability to act as an adhesive in hot condition. So hot tackability. Because of this ability to adhere to other surfaces in hot conditions, this polymer is commonly used as a tie layer or as an adhesive layer in many of the multi-layered materials. So ethylene vinyl acetate, EVA, is having very high hot tackability. So in hot condition, it can bind or becomes as a adhesive layer between two other polymers. Being a polymer, it acts as a binding or adhesive layer between two different polymeric materials. Now it has three major advantages over polyethylene. Number one, the heat sealing temperature is lower than LDPE. The heat sealing temperature of EVA is lower than LDPE. Number two, it has better barrier properties. So relatively better compared to LDPE. And another important property is it has excellent stretch properties. Stretch properties means it has very high tensile strength. And the important aspect of this tensile strength is the first 50% of the extension can occur at room temperature, and that too within the elastic limit. That means if 1 meter of EVA material is trying to stretch, and if the percent elongation is 200%, that means 1 meter becomes 2 meters when tensile force is applied, then the first 50% extension, that means from 100 to 150 centimeters, whatever is the extension, that is in elastic limit. That means once you stretch up to 150, it can go back and remain as the material with 100 centimeters length only. So such kind of property will help in stretch packaging if it is having less amount of stretching ability or elastic within the elastic limit, right? So ethylene vinyl acetate is used in the extrusion coating of polyethylene terephthalate and BOPP, biaxially oriented polypropylene. Biaxially oriented polypropylene. In next few minutes, we'll try to understand what is orientation. So most commonly it is this EVA is used as an adhesive layer or in the form of an extrusion coating layer in multi-layered materials. Right? Now, another important polyethylene family material is ethylene vinyl alcohol. You have already learned that this is a specialty plastic because of very high gas barrier properties or very poor gas transmission property. However, the properties of EVOH totally depends on the relative percentage of ethylene and the comonomer, that is vinyl alcohol. Now, how exactly this material is manufactured? In brief, it is produced by transforming the vinyl acetate group into alcohol group or vinyl alcohol group in carefully controlled hydrolysis operations in reactors. Right? Now, we are not really interested in how this material is getting transformed chemically, but at least to give you an idea that the outcome of the controlled hydrolysis of vinyl acetate group leads to vinyl alcohol, and that's the reason why this is, classified under the same umbrella of ethylene comonomer groups. Now, this vinyl alcohol has exceptionally high gas barrier properties, but because of the polar OH group, right? Polar OH group, it is prone to be water soluble and also difficult to process. So when you try to heat or when you try to add some additive while it's during its manufacturing process, the OH group has a tendency to react, and that's the reason it's difficult to process. But in any case, ethylene vinyl alcohol has come to an aid to the packaging industry to replace metal containers and glass containers to provide very high gas barrier property. So we know that glass and metal packaging materials have exceptionally high gas barrier property, right? So to simulate that, ethylene vinyl alcohol has come as an alternative, and hence it is of great interest wherever you want a high barrier performance. Now, as the ethylene content increases in the copolymer, right? As the ethylene content increases in the copolymer, the gas barrier properties will decrease. That means the gas transmission properties will increase, vice versa, right? So the usage of words will explain the meaning. So when the ethylene content increases, the gas barrier properties decreases or gas permeability increases, and the moisture barrier properties improve. Right? So this particular polymer, because of this ability, is highly useful in applications such as modified atmosphere packaging, in vacuum packaging, where you don't want the escape of gases from the inside of the pack, or we don't want any of the outside air to permeate inside if it is a vacuum packaged sample. Right? Now, as I just mentioned, because of the presence of hydroxyl group, it has an ability to interact with several other materials, especially with water. Whenever such EVOH based materials are dipped in hot water or in other applications where they are supposed to expose to water, then you find that their mechanical properties are also partially affected. And hence, for all these reasons, EVOH is used as an intermediate layer in multi-layered materials rather than as a single layer. According to the FSSAI regulations also, EVOH has been not permitted for direct food contact applications and as a single layer. So EVOH doesn't have any recycle code also. You have seen the 7 codes what I've given in the previous class. So with this, I'll move forward. Hope you have understood the properties of EVA and ethylene vinyl alcohol also. So this you can go through later. These are the properties of LDPE, the glass transition property. Here you may see that it is minus 120, and in the earlier one I have shown it as minus 110. But in the previous class I have described anywhere between 105 to 115 or 120. So it varies depending on its amorphicity, crystallinity, density, and several other parameters. But in a nutshell, you can just note down that it is somewhere in that particular range. Now the melting point, the tensile strength, the elongation at break, you see, elongation at break is nearly 1000%, right? 100 to 1000%. This particular reason or because of this particular ability, LDPE is used in stretch packaging or cling wrapping. At most of the in transportation or in airports and railway stations, you might have seen that a plastic material is used to unitize your luggages or baggages, right? By stretching the film, plastic film, and that is nothing but either PVC or LDPE. So the other properties are given here for your self-learning at a later stage. Now, this MIL in the practical class will come to know what are the different units of thickness. MIL is a unit of thickness similar to inch, micron, and also gauge. So we'll learn about the units in at a later class. At a later stage. These are the properties of high density polyethylene, and you can have a glance. Even it is also having very high elongation percent. Now, I just gave you a mention about what happens when the molecular weight changes or when the density changes in the properties of polyethylene. I thought of giving you a comprehensive and summary of those properties. And on your screen, you can see that when molecular weight increases, what is happening to the optical, mechanical properties. And similarly, when density is increasing or when the density is getting changed, so what is happening on the properties? So you can have a glance at a later stage too. The next important polymer that we are going to discuss is polypropylene. The monomer is propylene, as you are aware, and the density of this material is 0.9 gram per centimeter cube. So its density is less than LDPE or HDPE. You remember it is 0.915 to 0.965 for PE, and it is 0.9. And in some of the books, you may also find it as 0.89. So very close to that figure what I've shown on the screens. Now, the biggest advantage of this material is it is having a higher melting point compared to polyethylenes. So it is a low cost material, but advantageous in terms of the applications like for sterilization, autoclaving, etc. Now, where PE cannot be used in applications because of its low melting point, for example, in retort pouches, the sealant layer is always a polypropylene. So in a retort pouch where the material is containing aluminum foil and also nylon or polyethylene terephthalate as the second and third layers, the innermost layer which comes in contact with the food material, and such layer will also be the sealant layer, then that is actually the polypropylene which is commonly used. So it has medium gas permeability. I'll give you the numerical values. It has good resistance to grease and chemicals, but it also has poor impact resistance. The applications, if you can see, they're also used in terms of a thermoplastic, I mean thermoformed containers, or the especially in terms of the closures for a number of glass bottles or for PET bottles, polyethylene terephthalate bottles. So these are a couple of examples of its applications. Now, like any polymer can be subjected to orientation process, right? Orientation process. Orientation process means alignment of the side chains and the alignment of the polymer chains to one side of the plane, right? So one side of the plane, that is referred to as orientation. This process was given by a German chemist called I.G. Farben, and this process is also called as Luvie-Therm process. And the main purpose of orientation is to enhance the mechanical properties and also the optical properties, but at a reduced thickness. So this has a great potential in packaging applications, because when you reduce the thickness, you are actually enhancing the yield of the plastic film. That means when the thickness is reduced, you get the polymer or the film at a with a greater length. So, but when the properties are getting improved at a reduced thickness, so that is a big advantage to the application industry. So this material is having, as I said, it can withstand temperatures between 160 to 180. Most commonly called propylene that is available in the market is called as CPP, cast polypropylene. But because of the orientation process, you can also get OPP, oriented polypropylene. So the native without orientation or unoriented polypropylene, what you get is called as CPP, cast polypropylene. And when it is subjected to orientation, it is called as oriented polypropylene. Now, this orientation process can be in either one direction or two directions. So one direction orientation is called as monoaxial orientation, so MOPP. And if the orientation is done in two directions, right? Two directions, then it is called as biaxially oriented polypropylene. Now, what exactly happens is, if you look at the structure of the polymer, the structure is like this, and then so there are several arrangements of the polymer, and when it is getting extruded from the extruder and getting winded on the other side, right? When it is getting winded on the other side, there is an increased tension in one direction, right? So in this direction, because it is getting released by the extruder and wound by the rolls on the other side. So this, if the stretching is done in this direction itself, it is called as, it is a unidirection, right? So it is called as the uniaxial orientation. And very specifically, because this is the machine end and this is the other end, so you call this kind of orientation or this kind of direction as machine direction, MD. The common nomenclature what we use in the industry, MD, right? Now, on the other hand, if the stretching is perpendicular to this axis, right? If the stretching is perpendicular to this axis, that means you are stretching not only in this direction, but also in the sides. So what exactly happens when a polymer is of this thickness? Suddenly, when you are stretching in only this direction, fine, it leads to this kind of film, stretched film. But when you are also stretching it in the other direction, right? In the other direction, this is called as cross direction, CD. So these are the two important terms, MD and CD. So the film which is supposed to travel like this, now it gets stretched. So this stretched film, right? And after a particular period, it is allowed to move like this without any stretching. So what is happening? The initial width of the film is now increased by this distance, right? So initially it was only, this was the initial the width of the film was only this much, but because of the orientation, not only in one direction, but in both the directions, the width is increased. The alignment of the fibers or the polymer chains are now more uniform, and the thickness is reduced, and this entire stretching is done near the softening point of the material. Near the softening point of the material. Immediately it is chilled or cooled on chill rolls to remain in this particular length. So the same material, when it is getting stretched in both the directions, the thickness is reduced. And because of this alignment of the polymer chains, many benefits in terms of properties are occurring. Just look at this slide. With regard to the oriented and non-oriented or unoriented material, now there are no major changes with regard to the glass transition temperature, with regard to the melting point, but you can note the changes in terms of the water vapor transmission rate, right? You see the water vapor transmission rate for a non-oriented and an oriented polypropylene, the WVTR rate has decreased, right? And you see the tensile strength. The tensile strength of a non-oriented one is only up to 42 megapascals and maximum of 165 megapascals for oriented film. The tensile strength has got increased, right? Now, tear strength is 50. Very low CD and very high MD. Now you understand what is CD, cross direction. MD, it is the machine direction. There is no change in the density of the material because of this orientation. So the density is remaining same, 0.90. But the transparency is getting increased a lot. So optical properties are now much better. The oxygen permeability, look at the figure, oxygen permeability. Earlier it was 1.5 lakh centimeter cube micron per square meter per day at atmospheric pressure. Now it is only nearly 1 lakh. So nearly 1/3 of the permeability of oxygen has been reduced. So there are many benefits of orientation. That is the reason why in the industry, people for all applications where they want an enhanced shelf life in food packaging applications, they go for OPP and especially BOPP. So you might have heard about this BOPP earlier, but in detail, the properties you have just understood here. So with this, let me tell you that the biaxially oriented polypropylene or the non-oriented polypropylene properties differ. In general, when we talk about the cast polypropylene, without subjecting it to any other treatments, there are three different types of a material that can be obtained. One of the important one is the atactic, ATAC-TIC, atactic polypropylene. That means if you look at the side chain of this material, you see that the methyl group is on the side. So side chain methyl group. And if you look at the large polymer, the arrangement of this side chain CH3 in the entire polymeric chain could be random. So it could be sometimes above the plane or below the plane, right? So there could be a random pattern, and such random side chain arrangement of polypropylene, such materials are called as atactic polypropylene. If The side chain methyl groups are aligned only to one direction, either above the plane or below the plane. They are called as isotactic polypropylenes. Isotactic, that means on same side of the plane. Another third type of arrangement can also be possible, which is obtaining a symmetry of the side chain arrangement in the polymer chain, that is syndiotactic, SYNDIOTAC, syndiotactic. So it's an arrangement of the side chains in the polymeric backbone in a systematic fashion or in a symmetrical fashion. So this leads to three different types of cast propellants, and the arrangement either the above the plane, below the plane, that means atactic, isotactic or syndiotactic. These are all the whenever we use a specific or stereo specific catalysts are used, then you can achieve this. And because our interest is not in the manufacturing of these materials, so we don't go into the details of the manufacturing aspects, but to give you an idea that they may have different types of cast propylene too, and because of the orientation the properties differ. So when you are selecting a particular polypropylene, your interest should be to looking at the properties of this polypropylene, or for that matter any plastic, because the properties vary depending on the type of selection, right? Next, the another very commonly used commodity plastic is polystyrene, and if you look at the polystyrene material, you can see the structure of this. I mean the monomer of polystyrene I gave you in the previous class. The styrene is the monomer, also called as vinyl benzene. If you look at the molecular weight of ethylene minus hydrogen and the benzene, right? The heavyweight benzene ring is attached to the polymer backbone. So every molecule has a benzene ring. So there is a large amount of side chain with heavy weight. So because of this, the material is inherently brittle at room temperature and it is a stiff material. And it makes distinctly metallic sound whenever it is dropped on a hard surface. This is one important identification criteria of polystyrene, but caution should be there because an oriented plastic will also behave in the same manner. So when you find that a plastic is making noise, it could be polystyrene or an oriented film. So unless and until you test it properly, you cannot have a clear idea, but at least an intelligent guess can be made which particular metal it could be. There are three different types of polystyrene. General purpose polystyrene, that means the polystyrene which has been prepared by addition polymerization of the polystyrene, or high impact polystyrene where synthetic rubbers have been grafted. During the earlier polymer class, I told you about the grafting or graft polymers. So the synthetic rubber is grafted to the polystyrene chains to improve the cushioning ability or to improve the compressive strength. And the third one, expanded polystyrene, also called as foamed polystyrene. So all those disposable dinnerware or special foamed sleeves, right? This is a packaging form, foamed sleeve. Foamed sleeves used for individual protection of food materials or food containers are actually prepared using this EPS, expanded polystyrene. They are porous in nature with cellular structures, which can be achieved by blowing the polystyrene material with either nitrogen or carbon dioxide gases to inflate so that you can achieve such kind of structures. You also know that the expanded polystyrene or the polystyrene is also used as an insulation material in cold stores and other areas. Now, the biggest advantage of this material is it is having high water vapor barrier, water vapor and gas transmission rates compared to polyethylene or polypropylene. So it can be considered as a low cost material which can allow the water vapor and the gases to permeate, which is required in the packaging of fruits and vegetables, and especially in modified atmosphere packaging of fruits and vegetables, which respire continuously, so that the accumulated water vapor and the released CO2 inside the pack can be released to the atmospheric air at a constant rate, so that when CO2 is not accumulated, ethylene is not accumulated inside the pack, then the respiration rate can be controlled. Because of this, the polystyrene is commonly used as a breathing film. As if we breathe and inhale and exhale, this material will also try to exhale the gases from inside to outside. So because the temperature of processing and the melting point is less than 125 degrees centigrade, most of the times neither it is used for high temperature applications nor for heat sterilization temperatures. This slide gives you an idea of the other properties. Now you can look at this material. It is denser compared to polyethylene or polypropylene. The density is around 1.04 to 1.05. But when you talk about the foamed polystyrene, that is EPS, right? Foamed polystyrene or expanded polystyrene, the density is much lower compared to this material. So the density could be 0.03 gram per centimeter cube compared to this HIPS or GPPS, general purpose polystyrene grades. The glass transition temperatures, right? The water vapor permeability and the other properties are on your screen. You can have a look at these properties later also. Another important plastic is polyvinyl chloride, one of the most popular material till 1980s before the advent of polyethylene terephthalate for food packaging applications. But now it is not that widely used in food packaging applications, but it is still popular packaging material for pharmaceutical applications because of its blister packaging ability. This kind of bubble formation of plastic is most possible. PVC gives better blisters. So blister packaging applications, it is still widely used. In non-food packaging applications, it is used in cosmetics and the other toiletry packaging or non-food packaging applications. But we use it to a lesser extent nowadays because polyvinyl chloride, if you look at the structure, you can see that it contains a chlorine molecule, and adjacent to this you have a hydrogen material or hydrogen bond. Now, when you try to process this polyvinyl chloride, constantly the HCl gets released from this material, and this HCl continuous release lead to the polymer to become yellow in the beginning, right? And then orange. Further heat treatment leads to red color, later brown, and ultimately black color. And the color variation will tell the intensity of heat that was given to such materials. And this entire color changing is because of constant release of HCl in the processing. So polyvinyl chloride is having a problem when it is processed, number one. Number two, look at the polar groups, H and Cl, right? The chlorine molecule, it is a polar group and it has an ability to interact with n number of polymeric or n number of compounds which are also having affinity towards polar groups. So any food packaging material should be inert, but this has a tendency to interact with the food material and may cause changes in the food or changes in the polymeric structure. So you can end up with different properties, maybe sometimes harmful too. And the third reason why we are not commonly using polyvinyl chloride in food packaging applications is when you try to heat this material or process it, because of the release of HCl, it leads to a number of changes. So you add to improve the flexibility, to improve other properties, you dump the polyvinyl chloride with a large number of additives, such as plasticizers, right, antioxidant agents, heat stabilizing agents, and other agents. So because of use of these number of additives, the material is commonly dumped with a large number of additives, and these additives may migrate whenever such material is used for packaging applications and may fail the required regulatory standards, right? The IS 9845, which tells that for any material to be called as a food grade material, it should not have an overall migration or global migration with limits exceeding 60 milligram per kg. So any material having a migration of more than 60 milligram per kg, it cannot be called as a food grade plastic. In terms of area, not more than 10 milligrams per decimeter square. If the plastic meets this criteria, then only it is considered as food grade and you can use it for food packaging or food contact applications, right? So this is a problem with this material. So we are now limitedly using, but still it is used in meat packaging because it allows the oxygen to permeate, which is an essential requirement to maintain the color of meat. So it is still used there, and also in clinch wrap applications. In the domestic plastic films, what you find for wrapping applications, you find that PVC is commonly used at a thickness of about 10 to 12 microns. Right? Now, these are the common the properties of the flexible type of PVC film. You can note down that the density of this material is 1.23 gram per centimeter cube. So this gives a fair idea about the increasing temperature. The serviceable temperature is anywhere between -29 to 66 only. This tells that you cannot use this material for high temperature applications. Maximum hot fill is what you can use. Typical uses of PVC, not just in food packaging. Still, we use for some of these applications, but let me tell you, for milk and dairy products, it is hardly used in the current scenario. And for edible oil and liquor, in some of the places it is still being used, but it is not suggested by any of these industries to use it with food packaging. But meat, yes, it is still largely used across the world. Polyvinyl chloride, because of the paucity of time, I'll be just giving you a highlight that polyvinyl chloride, you can see the monomer here having two chlorine molecules on the carbon atom. It is having an outstanding odor and flavor retention ability. And because of this, it is not used commonly in commodity plastics, and it is considered as a the specialty plastics plastic. Its melting point is anywhere between 380 to 400 degrees centigrade, and hence It is always used in the form of a copolymer with polyvinyl chloride. And when the percentage of polyvinyl chloride is increased, the melting point and several other properties get decreased, including the odor and flavor retention property also. That means odor and flavor barrier properties also decreases when the PVC content in the copolymer increases. These are the properties of PVDC. You can see the density of PVDC is much higher compared to polypropylene or polyethylene. Nylons, just let me give you a break here and ask you a question. Do you have any other class next, or shall I continue?
The rheology class is there.
Okay. So I'll break this session here and then probably continue later. Right? Any doubts in this session?
Sir, I have one question.